to grow joyfully. I do not like to film myself, but here I am because I am going to conduct a taste test with 10 of my favorite tomatoes. So you will see me some and then you won't see me some, back and forth. Here are my victims. This is a really fun thing for me to do. It's my first year to do this. I have 3 of the dark purple-brown varieties, Black Krim, Paul Robeson, and Cherokee Purple. In the red department, I have Mortgage Lifter, Abe Lincoln, and Flame Orange. Over here in the yellow varieties, I have Pineapple, Kellogg's Breakfast, and Big Rainbow. I think what I'm going to do is put the camera on a tripod so my hands will be free. So we'll be right back. So I'm only able to get the cutting board in to the picture. I can't really fit myself and the cutting board, which is totally okay with me. But I wanted to let you know that these 10 tomatoes that I chose are all indeterminate varieties. And what that means is they have a vining habit. They will grow very tall and they need to be supported on a very strong structure. The best way to grow them is to allow one main leader to grow up that you trim and prune and tie up for the whole season. These indeterminate tomatoes can grow between 6 and 12 feet high. The difference between them and determinate tomatoes are determinate tomatoes set all their fruit at once. They have a bush-like habit of growing, and I think a lot of people like to raise these determinate tomatoes because they're really good for canning and sauces. Now the indeterminate varieties, they're just very wonderful heirloom varieties, and they're incredible for their taste. Not that you can't can them, you can, as long as you put in the correct amount of citric acid or lemon juice. Make sure you follow your instructions very carefully. So today we are just going to review indeterminate tomatoes, and now you know the difference between indeterminate and determinate. Just a quick review on the differences between the colors. I checked with our great and powerful Google, and it said that the red tomatoes are the most acidic out of all the colors. I did not go into deep detail as to why this is so. I could do that on a future video. I know for a fact that the yellow tomatoes are much milder, a lot less acidic. And again, I needed to go into that detail to find out why. And maybe I'll pause the video here and try to figure out the answer to this. Or I can insert it a little farther along in the video. It's going to be long enough as it is. And then the brown, purpley, red tomatoes are also less acidic, but they have a deeper, richer, smokier flavor. So just quickly in order, starting with the dark tomatoes, I am going to go over their how long they take to harvest and their taste. And I also wanted to mention that these are all beefsteak slicers. Okay, the Black Krim. You will notice that the Black Krim, the Paul Robeson, I can hold these all together, and the Cherokee Purple all look very similar. The Paul Robeson is a little more red, brick red. Take a look at that compared to this. And but I think it's all in the similar taste family. And they also have green shoulders, all of these varieties. So the black crim takes about 80 to 90 days. Now, this is all going to depend on where you live, what the heat was like, what the year was like. So you can't just say they didn't grow in 80 to 90 days. Oh, what's wrong with them? You have to realize that all the information given varies greatly because of soil, growing conditions, how much you water it, heat, and etc. So just remember that up front. So these are approximate days. So a black crim takes 80 to 90 days. It has that purpley brownish skin with green shoulders. It has a sweet, salty taste and a smoky flavor. The Cherokee purple tomato, isn't it gorgeous? Just look at those colors. I don't think the camera does it justice. There's its little green shoulders and its purpley brown red color. It's an old variety that is very trusted and loved, and it's ready to harvest in 80 to 90 days. They are sweet with a rich smoky flavor that most of the brown and purple tomatoes have. And let's see, where did Mr. Paul Robeson go? These tomatoes were first grown in Siberia, according to the great and powerful Google, and mature within 80 to 90 days. It is a Russian heirloom. Its taste is also smoky and tangy and rich. Now, if you watch Jess from Roots and Refuge Farm, she tells a very cute story of how when she was first starting to grow tomatoes, she grew a Paul Robeson, and she often just takes a salt shaker out with her into the garden and eats her tomatoes there. But when she did this, the flavor was so rich and incredible that she had what she calls a moment and nearly sank to the ground in disbelief. I've had those moments with these tomatoes out in the garden. And I have to tell you that one of the ones that evokes that in me is a cherry or grape tomato called chocolate sprinkles. Just the flavor just makes you, I don't know what it makes you. It makes you incredulous. It makes you a believer. It makes you weak in the knees. Fabulous. Okay, next we'll do the red tomatoes. And there are a lot of them out there, but these are the ones that I chose. This one is a mortgage lifter. I know that's a strange name. The reason the fellow named it mortgage lifter is because he did so well on the sale of it that it allowed him to pay off his mortgage. And it was developed in 1922 by a man called William Estler from West Virginia. It has a mild sweet taste and is mature in about 80 to 85 days. Then we have the Abe Lincoln. I can hardly lift it, it's so big. Very, very huge globe-like tomatoes that are quite incredible. The skin is a little thicker. I'm being dive bombed by a fly. Back, you rascal. The skin is thicker, and the flesh within is just very thick and meaty and hearty. Incredible tomatoes to use as slicers, to can with them to make sauce, what have you. Excellent one. I only discovered this one 2 years ago. Can you believe that? I'm smitten. Then we have the flame orange tomato, which is a red tomato. And I've only grown it 2 or 3 years. It looks a lot like the mortgage lifter, so it's easy to mix them up and what kind they are. So the flame orange, it can be harvested between 65 and 75 days, it says, but a lot of these things all came ripe around the same time. And I have to tell you that the big rainbow was definitely the first one to mature this year. So with the flame orange, the flavor is slightly fruity and it's quite low in acid, but it makes a good canning tomato slicer, etc. Then we have the pineapple tomato. Somehow, I only got 1 or 2 plants planted in my garden this year, which is just not okay. The pineapple tomato was my first love, and it has a delicious, fruity, almost tropical flavor. You know, you're not going to bite into it and say, oh my gosh, that's a pineapple. No, it's a tomato. But it's really quite a unique and lovely flavor. These usually produce my 2-pound tomatoes. This year, however, my 2-pound tomato so far was an old German, and I haven't done a taste test on those, and maybe I can get that done. But they mature in 75 to 95 days, and they typically have very large, heavy fruits that weigh 2 pounds or so. It has a red marbling through the flesh, as you can see, and when we cut it, you'll be able to see more, and is a very beautiful sweet tomato. Then we have Kellogg's Breakfast. Kellogg's Breakfast and Dr. Wyche's do not have any of the red marbling. That's one way of telling at least which one it is. You know, it's either a Kellogg's Breakfast or a Dr. Wyche's because it doesn't have the marbling. And the Kellogg's Breakfast takes 85 days to mature. It's a very sweet orange beefsteak named after the man Kellogg. And it's not after the breakfast cereal like you think. Kellogg's Breakfast, what? I'm still not sure why it was called Kellogg's Breakfast, other than Kellogg after the man who helped preserve this variety. It originated in West Virginia. A lot of these tomatoes, a lot of these varieties are very old. If they're an heirloom, they're 50 years old or older. The Big Rainbow was my first one to ripen this year, as I said. And it has the red streaking through it as well. It's a very beautiful tomato, and we will see how it tastes coming up. It is ready around 90 days, and it has a mild and sweet flavor. Now, Dr. Wyche's, or I've had people pronounce it Wyche's, Wyche's. Yeah, it's one of those names that are kind of different. I'm assuming Dr. Wyche's was the man who created it, or at least preserved it. It has a smooth texture and a slightly tropical sweet taste, but like I said, no red streaks through it. It's more similar to the Kellogg's Breakfast than any of the other yellow ones. It takes about 75 to 80 days, although for me, these seem to take a lot longer to mature. Okay, there's the rundown on them, a little brief history. And don't forget, these are indeterminate heirloom tomatoes. So I think what we're going to do now, realistically, if you eat a lot of anything, you get to where you're kind of tired of it. So, of course, the first few tomatoes right out of the gate that I taste are going to be the best ones, right? And I also have to use salt to bring out their flavor. So that's what I'm going to do. Some people just do most people do the taste test without the salt, but we're going to use salt. So the first one we're going to try, hopefully you can see well enough, is the black Krim. I wish I should have set maybe I could do that, the tripod up so you can see me cut the tomato, because I'm right-handed, and you want to be able to see the beautiful I don't know if it's marbling that you'd call it or whatever, but just to see how it looks when you cut it, because some of them are so gorgeous. So we'll cut off this part here. Look at that. Look at that dark, rich, gorgeous color. So beautiful. Put that in my little refuse box. Cut a nice big slice. Look at that. Beautiful tomato. I'm just going to cut a little tiny slice so I'm not here munching and chewing in your ear for an hour and a half. A little bit of salt. And very nice. A little acidic. It does have that richer, smokier flavor, but of course very good. Now we'll move these guys and bring out the Paul Robeson. This is called cat facing. It's where two or more blossoms fuse together, or fasciated blossoms, and created this very interesting work of art. Now this one did not have fasciated or fused together blossoms. And neither did the Abe Lincoln, which seems like it rarely does. But when you get this thing going, there's several blossoms that fuse together, and that's called cat facing. So we're going to cut that off, and I do not throw these things away. I either feed them to my chickens or put them in the compost. I'll cut this slice, try to get it thicker. Isn't that beautiful? Take a look at that. Dripping, it's so ripe. Oh man, so nice. I do make tomato sauce out of all of these. I don't just stick to determinate tomatoes like aroma. I use all of these. You just have to simmer it longer for the water to evaporate. Now this one, wow, we totally get where Jess is coming from. That's actually sweeter than the black Krim. Very lovely. Guess what I'm having after this? A tomato sandwich. Okay. Then the last dark purple one. I hate to cut it, it's so pretty. Look at that baby. Dark shoulders, brick red color, maybe a tiny bit of purple, but it looks a little more red and brown to me. And here, it also has cat facing because of the fasciated fused blossoms. I don't think anything's wrong with that. Some people do, because you can end up with a lot of crevices, and this one isn't bad at all because it looks like two. But you can end up with a lot of crevices that can rot or that can ripen unevenly. All right, here we go. Hopefully I have the camera fixed so you can see it properly. You never know until you're finished, and then you go through and try to edit and you're like, oh jeez. Okay, so this is the Cherokee Purple, a very beloved, wonderful, classic tomato. Goes way back. We're going to cut that. Look at the size of these slices. Would fill up a whole piece of bread. All right, we'll get this going. A little bit of salt. My salt shaker is kind of plugged. That's why it looks like I'm salting to death. Not as sweet as the Paul Robeson, but a little less acidic, and to me, perhaps better tasting. Each one of them have their own virtues. They're all yummy. Can't fight that. I actually was organized enough to bring a paper towel to clean up from the dark tomatoes before I go on to the red tomatoes. You probably will notice that the yellow tomatoes are my favorite because I think I like less acid in my tomatoes. Okay, this is clean. Now we're going to do the flame orange. I'll cut that little bit off. Put it in the compost bucket. There we go, and slice this beauty. Look at that. So pretty. Cut a little slice, salt it, and definitely more acid. A little bit lighter. I don't know if I could say sweeter, but lighter than those beautiful dark tomatoes. Nice taste. Definitely a tomato. Okay. Then our beauty, Abe Lincoln. Aren't they gorgeous tomatoes? I'll cut off the end here. Cut a little slice. These are going straight into the pot. I'm going to cook them and simmer them down and make more tomato sauce. I've made about 24 pints so far. Oh, that's sweet. That's nice. You can still taste more acid in the Abe Lincoln because it's a red tomato, but the first initial taste is sweeter and light and fresh. Okay, I only got one plate, and that was silly because I have 10 tomatoes. All right. Here's the mortgage lifter, a beautiful tomato. Wish I could pay my mortgage off with it. Take off this end and slice it. Get a little piece, and that's nice. It's kind of like a richer, so hard to describe, a richer flavor, but very good. Or I wouldn't grow them, right? If they were really a nasty taste and just not worth it, I wouldn't grow them. And we'll wipe this off again and go on to our yellow tomatoes. I don't know whether to save the pineapple, which is my first love, or the Dr. White cheese, which is becoming a very close second. What do you vote for? I think I'm going to go with Dr. White cheese, just because my favorite I'm going to save till last. Cut off the bottom. We still have more there. Look at the beautiful juices coming from that. When you do combine these 3 different colors in your tomato sauce, sometimes, yes, the tomato sauce can be lighter, maybe more than you want, but if you have a nice mix of them, it will be a little less acidic. That's why you use your citric acid or your lemon juice to make sure that it's safe to can. But it makes it very mellow and nice. Okay, look at this gorgeous thing. Oh, I'm just going to leave it there. Cut that little piece. All right, doctor. Yellow tomatoes, right? That's where it's at. Very sweet and nice. Much lower in acid. Sometimes acid bothers people's mouths or tummies. So, I don't know. Give those yellow tomatoes a try. Here's the big rainbow, and I've had much bigger sizes of them. Sorry. I'm trying to get it in the camera where you can see. My silly little tripod won't tip down more. Maybe if I lift it up. There, see if we can get it down there. No, not gonna cooperate. Okay, now you can see it even less. So, there we go. Stop fiddling with the camera. Take a look at that. Don't you love the red swirls and streaking in it? Now this is a really juicy tomato. Let's see what we think. Oh, wow. That is so sweet. That is so fruity and tropical. I give full marks for that. Very, very lovely. So far, my favorite. Oh man, that was good. So fruity. This one is a Kellogg's Breakfast. I usually get bigger ones, but this is the size I have for now. Cut off the bottom part. Cut a little piece. It's just a lovely tomato that's so yellow and lovely all the way through. I hope my camera is properly focusing. So annoying when it doesn't. A little bit of salt. That's a good taste too. Stronger and richer. Not as sweet and fruity, but definitely very good. Beautiful tomato. Okay, I think the tomato juice is starting to make me itch, but that's okay. I will put up with it for my beautiful tomatoes. Here's the pineapple tomato, the queen of tomatoes, and don't let me down. My first tomato love. And you see its little marbling and streaks. So pretty. I admire people who cross-pollinate tomatoes and come up with new varieties. I can't wrap my head around it yet. I don't have enough information, but it's incredible what they do. They breed in certain characteristics of what they want in a tomato. Sweeter, stronger, more acidic, less acidic. They're amazing. So this is my pineapple. Drum roll. There you go. Sweet. Not quite as tropical as the rainbow, but they will vary from tomato to tomato. So don't get upset if it doesn't taste how you think it should taste. I think that deserves another bite. I think that pineapple tomatoes are a very reliable, all-around, delicious tomato. It's sweet. Sweet and light, not too acidic. Amazing. I hope you like this little taste test, and I hope you get some good information out of it. I put myself on the line, and I actually filmed myself, and I hate that. So I've done this for you and for the love of tomatoes. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's helpful. I hope you learned something from it. And I encourage you to grow tomatoes, even if they didn't seem like they came out well this year. Think about what varieties and taste. I think a lot of the description about the tomatoes are quite accurate and will give you a really solid idea of what you can expect, even though things won't go exactly the way you think they might. So I hope you enjoyed this, and please come back and see us again, and don't forget to grow joyfully. We'll see you next time. Here's an afterthought. Where's the bacon?